Okay, let's talk about negotiation. We're going to dive into a pretty simple idea that honestly could completely change how you approach it from now on. It's a framework that's all about making any deal more logical, more principled, and hey, maybe even a little less stressful. The author of the book this is all based on, a Yale professor who literally teaches this stuff for a living, he starts by admitting something we all feel. Negotiation is just plain hard, right? It often feels like this high-stakes battle where somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. But what if the whole reason it feels so stressful is because we're not even fighting over the right thing? We get so fixated on the total amount of money on the table, the total number of whatever, that we completely miss what the real prize is. And that question right there, that brings us to the absolute core of this whole thing, the big transformative idea. We have to stop thinking about the total value of everything and start focusing on the value of the deal itself. See, the pie isn't the whole pizza. It's the extra value that you only create by deciding to work together. To figure it out, you take the total value you get with a deal and you subtract what each of you would get if you just walked away. That's your BATN, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. The pie is the bonus you can only get by coming to an agreement. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But what's really cool is seeing how this simple formula actually works in practice. To get a feel for it, let's start with something we all get, splitting a pizza. So look at this. The negotiation isn't about the 12 total slices. No way. If they walk away, there are only 6 slices between them. But if they make a deal, there are 12. That 6-slice difference, that is the pie. And since both of them are needed to create that extra value, well, the only logical and fair thing to do is to split it right down the middle. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. Sure, that's great for Alice and Bob and their pizza. It's all very nice and idealistic. But what happens when you're negotiating with someone who couldn't care less about being fair? Let's put this to a much tougher test. All right, so this is a true story from the book. It's about a friend of the author's who had to negotiate with a domain name squatter, or as the book calls them, a troll. I mean, it doesn't get much more adversarial than that, right? So the troll kicks things off with a classic, kind of slimy tactic. He throws out a big, completely made-up number, $2,500, to anchor the negotiation high. He's hoping that anything lower than that will now feel like a huge win for the buyer. But here's the key. You have to totally ignore that anchor and figure out the alternatives. The buyer's BATNA, he could file a dispute, which would cost him $1,300. The troll's BATNA is way worse. If the buyer files that dispute, the troll gets 0. Absolutely nothing. And boom, there it is. This is what illustrates the pie so perfectly. It's not the value of the domain. It's not the troll's made-up price. The real pie is the $1,300 in fees and hassle that they can both save together, but only if they make a deal instead of going the formal route. So the buyer just completely ignores the $2,500 anchor. Instead, he makes a principled argument based on splitting the actual pie. He lays out the logic crystal clear. Look, we can save $1,300 together, let's just split that savings. This move just completely reframes the entire conversation. It's not about emotional demands anymore, it's about logical cooperation. And you know what happened? After trying a few more tricks like, oh, let's just meet in the middle, the middle between his nonsense number and the real one, the troll folded. He took the $650 because it was the only argument on the table based on actual logic, not just bluster. This whole story leads us to a really crucial insight, one that pretty much busts the biggest myth we all believe about power in a negotiation. So what really gives you leverage? So here's the myth. Having a better alternative, a stronger BATNA, gives you more power in the negotiation and means you deserve a bigger piece of the pie. But the truth is, a better BATNA just gives you a better starting point. In fact, a better BATNA actually makes the pie smaller because there's less to gain from making a deal in the first place. And here's why this works. Your power over the pie itself is always equal. Why? Well, think about it. Both of you are 100% necessary to create it. If either one of you walks away, the entire pie just vanishes. Poof, gone. So you both stand to lose the exact same amount, your half. This means that even if you think you have a weaker alternative, you still have an equal claim to half of the new value you create together. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, it gives you a clear, powerful, and principled playbook you can take into pretty much any negotiation you can think of, from buying a car to closing a multi-million-dollar business deal. When you focus on these 3 steps, you can just cut through all the stress, all the posturing, all the annoying tactics. You're not just haggling anymore. You're actually collaborating to figure out the real value of your agreement and then proposing a logical, fair, and really hard to argue with way to divide it. So the next time you find yourself in a negotiation, just ask yourself this one question, because reframing the goal from how much can I get out of this to what new value can we create together and how do we split that fairly, well, that changes absolutely everything.